The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Theo Goodman from Hass Online,
Hey everyone, thanks for
Tone
watching.
Bays from Brave New Coin, still muted,
Hey everyone. I am back in the U.S., but at upstate New York and Lake George. Want to give a shout out to the Inn on the Hill, where I am streaming this from right now.
very cool. And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to Issue 1. Issue 1, Steem. Steem, a digital currency powering a social network, soared in value more than 1,000% in the last 2 weeks, and then was hacked for $85,000. Steem uses a social media website to pay their users in Steem to reward them for posting. The hack compromised more than 260 accounts with $85,000 in Steem stolen. The company will be covering the losses for the users. Theos the Stream approach with that of Yours Network, an open source competitor that uses Bitcoin. New website have its own cryptocurrency. Also, bonus report on Steem. Just this morning as we were about to broadcast the show, Steem went offline after someone posted a video where he was giving people unlimited Steem. Hashtag another exploit. Go ahead, Theo.
All right, well, on that last one, I'm going to have to investigate it, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone wrote an article on Steem about how to get unlimited Steem so that people steam him up and steam his article so that they get more Steem, because that's how it works. But nonetheless, I like everything about Steem as far as the how it works, except maybe you don't need to make your own currency, like you asked if every website should have its own currency. Probably not. I mean, a lot of websites have things like, for example, Reddit has Reddit Gold and Link Karma. I mean, they're not really currencies per se. I mean, you can give people Reddit Gold and Karma, but you can't really get it out of the website. So as far as Steem, you can, and you could trade it for other cryptocurrencies, etc., on exchanges. So I don't think you need it, and I think that I don't think you have to have a currency for every website. They could use Bitcoin like Yours Network, and I guess Steem is open source, so someone could fork it and just do it with Bitcoin if they thought that would take off. But at this point, with the hacks and everything, which I guess is more to do with the security practices of the company rather than the code itself, I don't know if people are going to trust it enough to use it for another project. But I do like the idea of Steem, and I think we're going to see more experiments with that kind of style.
Tone Vase.
All right, back off mute. Okay, so again, I just found out about Steem earlier this week. It's crazy how we were gonna bring it up on a topic and then
It's
hacked.
unfortunate you found out after it went up 1,000%. We've got to
Yeah, of
find out
course.
before next time.
Yeah, no, of course I found out about it after it went up 1,000%, and then we're gonna put it on the show, and then it gets hacked, and then our show is now airing today, and it has more issues. So I actually just want to read an email, right? Saturday, so like 4 days ago, I get an email from MarketWatch that wanted to quote me on Steem, and it just says Steem, and I replied to MarketWatch the following: I am not. My default answer to most projects is that it's a combination of scam and dumb idea. You can look into it later if you really need me to comment. Then I get a reply back saying, yeah, if you want, you can comment. So then I took a look at it, and this was my reply. This is before the hack, by the way. This is exactly what I wrote back to MarketWatch. I see nothing written about it in Brave New Coin, CoinDesk, or Cointelegraph. I just looked it up, and it's beyond dumb. I do not know why it has value. I had one more paragraph on it. It just goes to show you, you stick the words new crypto and speculators just come running. All they did was create a blog site and decided to pay in their own made-up currency, which, unlike reward points, is actually illegal. And that was the part that Theo was saying about Reddit, because Reddit is like reward points. When you pay with reward points, stick with the person. Pay in equity, but most places pay in legal tender. Bitcoin has found a new way to pay people, but Bitcoin is actually decentralized and secure. Something like Steem is complete garbage, and since the creator is known, he will either end up scamming the users or get arrested for creating a currency. So that is, those were my statements to MarketWatch pre-hack. So basically, that's exactly what they did. There is no security there. There is nothing crypto about this thing. They basically created their own currency that people can trade, and it immediately got speculative value because people just like to gamble. Of course, this is illegal, and if the regulators at any point in the next 20 years want to arrest the creator of Steem, they will be within that legal standing to do so. And this is because it's a security. It's you can just go ahead and you can trade it. Of course, it's immediately hacked because it's unsecure. They're creating it out of thin air. It's basically a way for these guys to become rich the moment they create a new site. There is no innovation here. There is nothing new here. Again, I don't speculate on these things. Some people become rich. Good for them. But I think I mentioned it to somebody else in a Twitter. I remember when Aurora coin became $100 per coin, and it was number 3 on CoinMarketCap behind Bitcoin and then Ripple or Litecoin. I don't remember. It was up there, 2 and 3 as well, back when Litecoin had value, and back when Ripple had value. Aurora coin crushed them all with a valuation of $100 per Aurora coin. So until I see another crypto break Aurora coin, I am going to assume that it will end like Aurora coin. People need to understand that Ethereum is the exception. That's not the norm. Everyone is now following Ethereum. After Bitcoin, every single altcoin has failed or is failing. Ethereum has prolonged the trend of imitation of success, prolonged it a little bit longer, so now everyone is trying to imitate Ethereum, but just like everything else, I don't expect Ethereum to survive very, very long. And now people are trying to imitate Ethereum, and they're all going to fail fairly quickly. I mean, look at the Steem disaster. We didn't even have time to talk about it to predict what a disaster is going to be, and it already happened in 3 days between us wanting to talk about it and us actually talking about it. I'll leave it on that note. Go ahead. I'm sure you have something else to say of your own. Thomas, go for it.
I think it would be interesting to contrast this with OneCoin. Now, I don't know very much about OneCoin, but I recently watched a video from the Bitcoin Uncensored guys, Junseth and Krista Rose, and basically they go to a sales seminar in Coral Gables, Florida. There's a lot of looking retired people there, investing type people, and they're giving a speech about this OneCoin. Now, I don't know anything about OneCoin, but in the background of the guy's speech, you can see a clear diagram of what looks to be a pyramid chart. Right? A person at the top, 2 below, 2 below him, 2 below him. The classic multi-level marketing structure that they're using to promote this OneCoin. And the guy says very assuredly that we're going to double by Christmas and that you're going to think this is a good investment. He even says, and I quote, "I know it in my knower." I know it in my knower that this is a great investment. He talks about how they're savvy and they're going to get creative with your stagnant IRA funds. So it's very unfortunate that while on one side we have Bitcoin, which is legitimate and interesting and innovative, and Ethereum, which seems to be exploring new worlds of smart contracts, and other altcoins such, Darkcoin, Dashcoin, all these things that are trying, Monero or Zcash, trying to do anonymity, trying to do new features having a test net, kind of having a pre-mine questionable things here and there, but they're actually trying things, and then you have just straight up scams like OneCoin. So I don't know, like
You know
it's
it in your knower, Thomas? If
what?
anyone wants me to do creative things with their stagnant IRA funds, just hit me up at @TheOG_. I'll get creative with your stagnant IRA funds, and I know it in my knower that we
That
can
was the
double
thing
that.
watching that video is like, don't just invest money that you have. Invest your life savings. Invest your retirement. I
Yeah.
know this is
Well,
such a good idea. Like,
it's kind of I think that OneCoin is a whole nother thing than Steem. I mean, yeah, you could, like you said, they are just giving Steem out from a central wallet or whatever. So, it's centralized. But, the thing is, Steem, unlike Ethereum or some other projects, Steem didn't have a pre-sale as far as I know, or not one that was really pumped up. So at least it was, okay, you guys make content
I
and then
do
pump
think
it up.
the company doesn't the company Steem own all the Steem? Like,
I think so. I think so. But what happened? But what I did want to point out is one reason it was a success is that you have that pump cycle where the price goes up, so people want to post more content there, and then people post more content there, and then the price goes up. So that's what you had this kind of, because you could kind of, or because you still can, I guess, kind of game it in a way to get your content pumped up. Then not only did the price pump, but the content pump too, and you had more and more people.
well, and that's
telling
an
you,
interesting thing. And let's talk about Steem, the currency, as a motivator. Let's talk about some past projects and some future projects. You have the Yours network, which is going to be very similar to what they've said Steem is. You get paid for submitting articles. You get paid for making comments, small amounts, but small amounts of Bitcoin, right? Then you're going to have Steem, where you get paid in Steem, and Steem is its own currency, so it can go up or down. So maybe you get more, maybe you get less, right? You also have things in the past like ChangeTip, which used Bitcoin to try to reward people. Which one of these is going to succeed? What do we really want out of a reward system? Tone, and then Theo next.
All right, so here's my, by the way, just a quick comment on OneCoin. As bad as Steem is, as bad as the DAO is, OneCoin is significantly worse than all of them combined. It's just disgraceful what OneCoin's doing. I guess I still need to watch what John Seff and Chris DeRose did on Bitcoin Uncensored with that video that you talked about. I spent 10 minutes reading about OneCoin, and that was enough for me to know that's probably the most disgraceful project in the space. At least Steem is encouraging creating something like content. At least the DAO, people voluntarily gave away their Ether. What OneCoin is doing is literally disgraceful. But as far as projects goes, I really don't like that name, Your Network. I really don't like it. They could have gotten a little more creative with the name. Now here's my idea. If you really want like a Facebook and a social network and a content site that pays the users directly, you don't need to decentralize it. That is dumb. Here's what you need to do. You need to create a site like a Facebook, like a Reddit, whatever you want, right? And have people don't even need to create usernames and passwords. What you need to do is you need to, when people go to the website, have these people put up Bitcoin in escrow. You can either do it preemptively, you can do it as you come on, a QR code pops up, and you put it there, and it remembers it in your browser so that it stays there. So people put, let's say, $10 worth of Bitcoin in the escrow on a content site, like the new Facebook or the new Reddit. And then, as these people read articles, the more they scroll through the article, the more time they spend reading the article, the moment they hit the share, the like button, based on that criteria, the Bitcoin or fractions, micropayments of that Bitcoin goes directly to the creators of that content, to their wallets in escrow within the site. And then they can withdraw it at any time. This does not need to be decentralized, but the money is decentralized. People are confusing with decentralizing Facebook with decentralizing content creation and content payments. That is what's needed. You want to have a Facebook with no ads? Fine. Have people put Bitcoin in their escrow account, and then as they share and as they hit the like button on other people's content, the Bitcoin just transfers from your wallet to their wallet. Nothing decentralized about it other than money, and we have Bitcoin for that. So that's the future that I'm hoping for, and I would be happy to get my content from a site like that with the site admins taking a little bit for themselves as a percent fee, maybe a 0.5% fee, and if that 0.5% adds up to the content creator being a multi-billionaire like Mark Zuckerberg, then good for him.
Well, and it's always worth mentioning that you can download ProTip at protip.is. And ProTip is a system very similar to what you're describing, Tone, while it is in its very early stages, and it is open source. ProTip, all you have to do as a creator, put your Bitcoin address on your web page, YouTube, SoundCloud. All you have to do as a person who wants to support content, put a few dollars in your Bitcoin wallet that's built into ProTip in your browser. It scans the pages you view for QR codes, times how long you spend, and at the end of the week it splits up your daily or your weekly allowance to those sites. You can try it at protip.is. If you're a programmer, you can improve it. The code is on GitHub. Theo Goodman, your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, if anyone wants to develop something, maybe ProTip would be a good starting point for you for a backbone if you're doing something. Yeah, and I agree with Tone. Or Thomas and Tone, don't you think we need to put everything on a blockchain, like put a Facebook on a blockchain? I mean, and then do the social network on the blockchain. I mean, I don't think you need all that.
I do think if we are going to decentralize and split up the content, it's going to be more like Open Bazaar, where you run a server and you publish your content on that server. It's distributed to other servers, more like torrents, right? And it doesn't necessarily torrents don't require currency, right? This amazing thing happened on the internet. We all wanted to share files together because we like those files, and we didn't have to pay each other. We did it for the good of the network.
Yeah, let me just comment on that real quick. My problem with ProTip is the fact that I have to download something. Downloading something.
Browser plugin. Browser.
I know, but I really should use it and try it. As for decentralizing, again, if you have a problem with censorship, then you need to decentralize it. I think that the only useful case for Open Bazaar is to sell censored products or censored services. If you're not doing that, then decentralization is silly. Again, there's no reason to decentralize Facebook. All you got to do is provide privacy to your users, allow users to encrypt their content in their browser. There should be a privacy-conscious terms of service that is not infringent on people's privacy. And then whoever wants to start a company like that just needs to get 20, 30 servers all over the world in some nice jurisdiction places and copy this content across 20 or 30 servers. It doesn't need to be on 100,000 nodes. It just has to be decentralized enough so that the content can be taken down. So I do not see a need to decentralize Facebook unless the content is being censored.
And there is starting to be a change in privacy, whereas years ago it seemed like the idea of privacy had been given up on. Now we're seeing end-to-end encryption rising in Facebook Messenger and other apps like that. And it sounds even possible that someday the large silos of data will realize that they have to encrypt and block even their own access from data. Maybe we'll see a Facebook that just encrypts everything and only your friends can see your content, not your advertiser friends.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Theo, any more on this topic?
Nope, I'm ready for the next topic.
All right. We do have an exit question, and we'll see how this goes. It may be too soon. Exit question: more users in a year, Steem or yours network? Theo.
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with yours network. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to go with yours network as well, but they need to change the name. They need to rebrand. As much as I hate rebranding, this one this one
Yeah.
absolutely needs to.
Maybe they could call it smoke instead of steam, and you're kind of sending smoke signals with your content.
Look, they're all copying the Ethereum model. I mean, they even called it Steem, like Ethereum's gas. I mean, again, right? People got tired of copying Bitcoin because everything else, every copy of
Well,
Bitcoin has
maybe they could
failed.
call it
So now,
then.
now they're all copying Ethereum. So, well, they're not going to last.
They could call it smoke, and where there's smoke, there's fire. Not crazy about the name, but it is better than DAT. Moving on to Issue 2. Issue 2. Coinbase co-founder warns against Ethereum hard fork. Coinbase co-founder Fred Ursum, famously a huge fan of Ethereum on Medium, warns of the dangers of the upcoming hard fork, saying that we should learn to live with those mistakes because people will write poor smart contracts in the future, and we can't fork each time. Or can they? The DAO attacker, who famously stole more than $50 million from the DAO, is the main target of the hard fork, which will occur this weekend. Tone Vase, is Fred Ursum right? Should Ethereum hard fork? And we also have a bonus article that Kraken will be halting Ethereum deposits for 1 hour before the hard fork, and that Kraken has officially announced they're going to go with the largest chain, and that they're going to be essentially seizing Ethereum deposits on the smaller chain and switching to the larger chain. So there's a lot of complexity going on this weekend. Go ahead, Tone.
All right. Well, I'm going to start off with a very politically correct statement. This weekend is going to be a complete shit show. But so other than that, no, of course he's correct. They shouldn't be hard forking. But then again, as a Bitcoin maximalist, as everyone likes to call me, I'm really curious. I mean, I love this Ethereum testnet for Bitcoin to see what happens during a hard fork. So I'm kind of curious. I hope they hard fork and just to see what happens. Of course, they shouldn't do it, but they're going to do it, and I've explained why they're going to do it. They're still in this delusional state that they're going to go to proof of stake. And I saw Vlad over in Ukraine. We were talking about that. He's the one that writing the proof of stake. What are they calling it? Casper? I don't even know. They're still in this delusional state that they're going proof of stake. And because they're going proof of stake, they can't have some hacker have that much Ethereum. So that's probably their main reason for doing it. And they kind of want to test it out. So yeah, go for it. Do the hard fork. I'm very curious how it's going to come out. Jesse Powell and the Kraken team, they're smart. They know what they're doing. So they're on the ball. So pay attention to them. Any comments that come out of them, they know what they're talking about. So I don't have much else to say about that. Yes, he's right.
It's an excellent point, Tone, that the Ethereum testnet is teaching Bitcoin a lot. It seems if Bitcoin one day were to add a smart contracts language, they might, roll it out in a slower and more even fashion. But we are learning a lot from this experiment. Theo Goodman.
Well, this whole thing is making me go really long on popcorn, and I mean one of those big tin ones with like 3 flavors. I mean, this thing is, it's just like nonstop every day. Oh, this article, we need a hard fork now, otherwise. Or this other article, oh no, we can't have a hard fork. Or oh no, I've got this other method that's not a hard fork, and the other person says, oh, it's good, and then they say, oh no, there's an attack vector for that one. So we've had that about this whole week, and the coming days should be the same. So get your popcorn ready. I agree with the co-founder of Coinbase in this case, definitely that you shouldn't have a hard fork. You should just deal with it, basically, and that's just and if you are able to deal with that, then you're going to be stronger pretty much going forward. Now that is really interesting with the whole proof of stake thing, because a lot of people are saying, oh yeah, but Casper is like, it's not the normal proof of stake. It's the next level. It's not pure coin. Like all the altcoins are using the old pure coin source, but we've got the next level proof of stake. It's distributed proof of stake 2.5 or whatever it is, and before it even starts, they have a problem because at the central bottleneck, somebody stole some coins, and their staking power would be really huge. And all these other projects that are talking about, oh, we're going to make proof of stake and we're going to make it, we've got these guys studying really high mathematics about how, it's going to encourage this and that. Yeah, but most of the coins are going to be on an exchange at some point, and then that exchange gets hacked, and that person has a bunch of the coins. And how are you going to solve that? Well, you're not going to be able to. You're going to have to fork. So, you always have these things with proof of stake like that, and you could fork, and maybe the coin is fine then, but the more you fork, because of that, that it's not a technical reason, then in my opinion, you're going to lose trust in the chain. So I agree, no hard fork, and I'm really long on popcorn. Get your big 3-flavor tin.
Maybe they could build this forking into the coin somehow. It could be like the coin that's easy to fork, and every time they have a hack, they could just fork it. Have it, I don't know, more checkpoints or something.
I can see the announced thread right now in the altcoin section, fork coin. As soon as someone owns 5%, it automatically forks.
On to the exit question. What is the price of Ethereum Monday morning after the hard fork? Tone Vase.
I think it's gonna drop. I think we're gonna go to like maybe $7-8 on Ethereum, probably maybe even lower. I'm gonna go low on Ethereum on that one.
Theo Goodman.
The price on Monday is going to be all over the place, so I don't know. I guess we could have a really crazy range, like Tone said, between 5 and 8. It could, you could have some real crazy price action on that day.
I tell you what, though, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of success stories. I'm sure you'll hear, like, if they do the fork, let's say tomorrow, let's say they do a fork on Sunday, on Monday there'll be something crazy, and on, like, Tuesday or Wednesday, you're going to see all these posts. I just made $30,000 on Ethereum. Oh, my God, this was the greatest opportunity. But you know who you're not going to hear from? You're not going to hear from the guy that lost $30,000, right? You always hear from the winners. You never really hear from the losers. Very few people are willing to admit how much money they lost, and then they get ridiculed for it. And in general, Ethereum has gone up, kind of like Bitcoin has gone up. So not many people have lost money on Bitcoin unless they've been hacked or unless they've invested in stupid projects, like many of us have. So you're not really going to hear that, but you will hear from a lot of winners calling guys like us, like we know nothing because we don't even own the single Ether. So just watch out. Just keep in mind, for every high school dropout that became Bill Gates and college dropout that became Mark Zuckerberg, there's 1,000 that are still living in their mom's basement. So it's take that with a grain of salt, all of the success stories.
I agree with the panel. It'll probably be from $6 to $8. But again, if logic doesn't matter and people keep buying it because it goes lower, maybe it goes up. Maybe we see 12 to 14. Who knows? Not a great prediction, but I'm never right anyway. Moving on. Are you having battery problems on your phone that are keeping you from catching them all? Get an extra battery or a battery case at purse.io and save money on everything sold by Amazon. Spend your Bitcoins today at purse.io. Issue 3. Cloud storage provider C-File chooses Bitcoin, ditches PayPal. After PayPal sent a probing questionnaire that the user privacy-conscious C-File refused to answer, PayPal blocked them from using their service. Just a few years ago, C-File would have had no choice but to cave to PayPal's demands. Not anymore. Now, C-File just takes Bitcoin. Tone Vase, is Bitcoin's true power in providing an alternative to PayPal, an alternative to banks and credit cards, an alternative to government currency?
All right, so it feels like for the first time in a while, I'm actually going to say about a story that's been brought up on the Bitcoin group, because it's usually me talking a lot of shit about the project. So this is one of those things why I'm in Bitcoin. This is the perfect example of that. I have been writing about this back in Cointelegraph when I first started writing for it 2 years ago, and these were the types of stories that I loved. I remember I gave PayPal so much crap over what they did with Proton Mail. So Proton Mail is an encrypted centralized email service, which is excellent. They're probably the fastest growing email service right now. I was their beta user from almost day one, and they were self-funded initially, but then right before the launch, they did an Indiegogo campaign, and they started taking crowdfunding, I guess, money for premium services. And PayPal cut them off, and when they from their Indiegogo campaign, and when they reached out to PayPal, PayPal said, "We're not sure you're legally allowed to encrypt email, so we're not going to let you collect. We're not going to let you run your Indiegogo campaign for people to donate money." And that was just disgraceful. And PayPal is known for this. Even before Bitcoin came into existence, I don't know if you can see my friends behind me. We're on our annual college kind of summer trip to the lake. And one of my friends runs an annual NCAA tournament in March. And it's a $20 entry fee, and we'd all either send them through PayPal or see him in person. And even like in the late, like before 2010, every time he would run his tournament, he would say, "Hey, you can send me money with PayPal, but please, for the love of God, in the comments section, don't put that you're sending me $20 for the NCAA tournament. I use this PayPal account for my business. He's self-employed. I don't want to get banned from PayPal." I mean, this is how bad PayPal has gotten, and it's really disgraceful. And PayPal started out as an alternative to banking, but then they had to abide by all the rules, and they went above and beyond. So what's happening with this story is this is what Bitcoin is for. It's for to get around these regulations. I'm sorry, you don't need to use Bitcoin to go into your local store and buy, your plate of Indian food. Trying to convince your local grocery store or your next door neighbor that he needs to accept Bitcoin, because he doesn't need to do it. This is the kind of service that needs to do it because they care about the privacy of their users, and PayPal has taken that away. So this is the backbone of Bitcoin, and the more companies start doing this, the more people will know what Bitcoin is really good for, and then one day it will spread to services where Bitcoin isn't necessary. But for a service like this, Bitcoin is absolutely necessary. VPN services, I guess pornography websites where you don't want other people or perhaps your wife knowing what you're spending some of your money on. So these are the types of services that Bitcoin is perfect for, and this is a great example of that. I wish this site well. I hope to get a bunch of users. I might actually look into it. I've never used these sites for cloud storage because I don't trust Google. I don't trust Dropbox. I'm sorry, I just don't trust them. I do trust my email provider, Proton Mail. They're not decentralized, but I encrypt my own email in my browser. Nobody knows my password but me. I lose my password, I lose my email, and I don't care if they store it on their network of servers because all that information is encrypted. I would love that from a cloud storage facility, and I may start to look into it, and maybe I'll finally use cloud storage because up to this point, I never trusted them.
Well, remember, the cloud is just someone else's computer, and PayPal really did start out as a great company. I read that book recently, The PayPal Wars, all about how difficult it was to build PayPal and the back and forths they went through, and it started out as a way to send money around from your Palm Pilot, and you're supposed to be able to pay your buddy back for lunch, which is exactly what I use Bitcoin for now. And it went its own way, and pretty much before the IPO, they had to cut off the gambling and pornography sites, which kind of led to the PayPal culture of banning and blocking and freezing that they never really got away from. Theo Goodman, your thoughts on C-File?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with you. Good for C-File that they figured out a way to get around PayPal, and now that Bitcoin, I wouldn't say Bitcoin is mainstream, but it's well known enough now that they can use it, and enough people that are interested in their services are going to be able to get Bitcoin and use it. I mean, if this was, 2 years ago, it probably wouldn't have been a very viable option for them, but I think now Bitcoin is big, must be big enough that they can do it, and maybe it's one of their only choices at this point, because even the other providers like Skrill or NetTeller, I don't know if anyone knows of those guys, but it's similar to PayPal. I mean, they're going to have, in the end, very similar questions over time. They might be a little bit, I think, like, for example, Skrill is more lenient for gambling because they're based in Europe, but probably not for U.S. customers. So, you have always the same problem. So they just probably said, forget it, we'll just use Bitcoin, and that's fine. So yeah, that's a good example of how they can get around, using PayPal, and good for them.
Yeah, and also don't forget, I mean, it's thanks to PayPal and Visa and MasterCard is the reason why Bitcoin is what it is today, because it all started with WikiLeaks. The first time I ever heard about Bitcoin and in the mainstream was back in, I believe, December 2010, when Amir Taki went on the Bitcoin forums after WikiLeaks got banned from PayPal and from Visa and MasterCard, saying WikiLeaks needs to start accepting Bitcoin in order to continue running their servers. And Satoshi intervened and said, no, Bitcoin can't support it. We don't want this kind of attention. It's too early. It's too soon. A Bitcoin was worth like 10 to 15 cents back then. That's when I first heard about it. I'm not even sure if Silk Road was up and running by then. I believe it was. But Silk Road didn't become popular until mid-2011 when Chuck Schumer went on TV talking about how horrible that was. And that blew Bitcoin up from $1 all the way to $30 in price. But I still say WikiLeaks started it all back in December of 2010, 6 months before Chuck Schumer took out an ad to promote Silk Road for people. And that was thanks to PayPal and Visa, MasterCard. If only they had allowed transactions and donations to go to WikiLeaks, Bitcoin might not have been what it is today. So thank you, PayPal.
It's true, they definitely left an opening for a competitor by failing to allow a non-judgmental way of sending funds. They kept judging all the transactions, and I think that's what you're going to see with Coinbase. I keep reading more and more reports about Coinbase shutting down accounts that send money to gambling sites, etc., and the level of analysis they're having to do on the Bitcoin addresses and on their users to track this all down is going to drive people away from their service. Moving on to the exit question. Will PayPal ever ditch PayPal and provide their long-awaited Bitcoin integration? Tone Vase.
No, they're kind of married to it. I mean, PayPal is big. People don't realize how much money PayPal is holding. I think PayPal is holding more customer cash than any bank. PayPal still, I mean, they got a long way to go. US dollar is still king. Bitcoin is probably like a pimple on an elephant's ass as far as market cap goes for global usability and global transactions. So I don't think PayPal is going anywhere for a long time. And remember, most transactions are not censored. Well, they could be censored, but most transactions are not for gambling. Most transactions are not for these kinds of things. So PayPal still has a lot of uses. So they'll be around for a while, and they're married to the idea. I don't think PayPal is really worried about this.
Theo Goodman.
I don't think the PayPal directly will. They might have a subsidiary of them that they own, and they do some kind of project where they would allow Bitcoin payment processing. But I don't think like Tone said, they want to keep PayPal itself pure. They want to keep that pure so it can be on the quote legit markets, and then if they see volume or demand there, then I could see them making a subsidiary company somehow or offshore or something like that, and doing it like that.
Yeah, but also if PayPal gets into this, right, all they're gonna do is put Coinbase out of business because
oh yeah, I agree.
Coinbase will just be completely useless, and all PayPal will do is it'll accept Bitcoin from those that have Bitcoin, and just put dollars into people's accounts. It'll be like a PayPal button, and it will have, if you want to pay in Bitcoin, you pay in Bitcoin. But they're not going to go to the other end. It's not like PayPal is suddenly going to utilize Bitcoin to enter the gray market areas like gambling sites, like adult sites, like political, well, not political donations, but political donations to, things that government doesn't approve of. It's not like they're going to enter those markets. They're going to go in the other direction. They'll gladly take your Bitcoin and take 0.5% or not even. They have small overhead, so that they can easily accept Bitcoin from people like us that have it, and just put local fiat currency on the end of the business user. But they're going to stick to the business users that are already PayPal users. They're not going to enter the gray market.
Yeah, if anyone wants to take a look how that would look like, just go to NetTeller. That's basically what they have. NetTeller is kind of like a PayPal alternative, and they also do take Bitcoin, and they do serve gambling for sure, and maybe some other things. I don't know if it's available for U.S. people, but it's just an example. It's pretty simple. How it's just like what you said, more or less.
I'm pretty sure NetTeller is not in the U.S., and I'll tell you why. Because back in the day, back when online gambling and poker became popular, like in the early 2000s, at the turn of the century, or the millennium, I get those confused all the time, at the turn of the millennium, I had money in NetTeller because that was the only way to move it over to these gambling sites. And then they froze all of the U.S. deposits. So I ended up with like a few $100s stuck in NetTeller for years. I don't even remember if I ever got it. So ever since then, I've done nothing but talk crap about NetTeller because they literally froze all of U.S. customers' money, and I'm not even sure they ever got it back. So that was pretty bad. I mean, I shouldn't have had money there to begin with. I mean, that was bad. That was like a third-party unknown site holding your money. You should have just used NetTeller to move that money into your gambling sites, but then you have to use NetTeller to then get it back. Your money shouldn't have been sitting there. Yeah, so I don't know if NetTeller came back to the U.S. market, but ever since that happened in early 2000s, I never looked at NetTeller again.
That's very reminiscent of the time when you could only buy Bitcoin by transferring money to your Dwolla account, then transferring from Dwolla to Mt. Gox.
Yeah,
Dwolla eventually decided they didn't want all those funds and all those fees, and they froze everyone's account and cut it right off.
Again, I just have to, just one more point on this topic for any new listeners that might be watching this podcast for the first time. Bitcoin hasn't changed anything. We've had these workarounds for what governments consider gray market, and different governments consider different things gray market. We had all of these since the internet began, even before internet. All of this has been there. The only difference with the revolution of Bitcoin, the technological revolution of Bitcoin, the only difference is this middleman that is moving your money can no longer confiscate your money. It can no longer be frozen. Like, there's nothing new. People have always used middleman to move money to websites that governments don't like. Even before websites, this was happening. I had friends that were gambling offshore before the internet. You just have to mail your money in, and then you use you call the system, and then you would type 1 if you want to bet on the Warriors, 2 if you want to bet on. You use the phone system for this, so you ask for a live operator, and to get your money there, you use Western Union. You used other means. We've always had this. The only difference is that Bitcoin will not freeze your money. Up to this point, as long as the network survives. That's the difference. It's not the idea. It's the middleman has changed. And that's the important part. You don't need to decentralize a gambling site. You just need to make sure the money can't be taken.
Excellent point, Tone. And we're moving on to predictions or story of the week. Theo Goodman, are you ready with a prediction or a story?
I am ready. I'm ready with my prediction. It could be a longer-term prediction. Unfortunately, we had the attack in France, and there was a coup attempt in Turkey. A lot of people died, no matter what side you're on. But it's just a matter of time before someone at one of these events, of course, if they're an attacker, they carry their passport with them. because that's what you do, right? And it's randomly found, and there's going to be a paper wallet folded up in this randomly found passport, or maybe just something that says Bitcoin happens to be randomly. Of course, the person doing the attack put the thing with Bitcoin, put it in their pocket, and then went to the attack, and then put their passport too. So I think that in the future we could see some like random mention of Bitcoin after one of these attacks.
It's very unfortunate when they start calling Bitcoin out for something that it didn't do. Tone Vase.
Wow, that was, I did not know that. Obviously, that's completely ridiculous. I'm surprised they don't just find all these people with like Bitcoin private keys just tattooed on them, right? Yeah, no, that's crazy that they always find these passports, like a plane has evaporated, there's no, like the engine has disappeared, but the passport managed to survive. Meanwhile, the engine has burned up in the gasoline smoke. Anyway, it's completely crazy. So I am also gonna stick with that, and I'm gonna focus on Turkey. Again, you know what? I'm never ready for this section. I'm never ready for a prediction or story of the week. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look for stuff that happened this week that I can go back to and point to the Bitcoin group, and it will be like the Tone I told you so section. So we talked about Turkey on this podcast, I believe in episode 96 or somewhere in the mid-90s, where PayPal in Turkey, Bitcoin, I don't remember. And I was very critical of Turkey. And I said, Turkey has got bigger problems, especially in the religion space, and Bitcoin is completely irrelevant there. And all the commenters jumped down on me saying, you don't understand. Turkey is the most modern Islamic country in the Middle East, and all this nonsense. Look, this is what happens. So again, this is another I told you so. And Turkey, Bitcoin, it can help. They got bigger problems. They got to solve their overbearing religion, their overbearing religious leaders. Turkey needs freedom. They need freedom first, Bitcoin later. U.S. has tasted freedom. It's going into socialism. Europe had tasted freedom for a little bit. They're going into ultra-socialism. These places need Bitcoin to move their wealth before governments take it away. You want freedom? Go to the Socialist Republic of Vietnam, where I just came from. There's actual freedom there, not around here. I'll probably be going back to Vietnam and Thailand. And same thing goes for Turkey and other countries in that area. I've been to other countries in that area. I've been to Morocco on this past trip as well. Again, Morocco together, give you people some internet, give you people some freedom, and maybe then those people will discover Bitcoin and take the extra mile. So these places have a lot bigger fights than Bitcoin. Maybe Bitcoin will help them with those fights, but those are more mental fights than currency-moving fights. So I'm hoping that these countries would start to embrace, I guess, a little more freedom. I'll end it on that note.
Good story, Tone. And I'd just like to thank everyone for watching today. We had about 61 live viewers, which is great for an unplanned show on a Saturday morning. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the World Crypto Network. Leave us a comment below. Maybe if you want to join the World Crypto Network Slack, DM your email to @MadBitcoins. We can add you in there. We talk, we do shows, we talk. And now, my prediction or story of the week. Just the story of the week this week. I saw on Twitter that Kim.com is getting very close to announcing his follow-up to Mega Upload. He has described it as if Mega Upload and Bitcoin had a baby. So I think that sounds great for the future of the internet, perhaps a way to transfer files, and again, reward the people who uploaded the files, reward the people who torrent or seed the files with some actual currency, with some Bitcoin. He didn't create a Mega Upload coin. So good on him, Kim.com. And we're about out of time. So until next time, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Here's the beach from Tone. Here's the beach.
Yeah, this is the lake, and before I jump in the pool. All right. Bye bye, everyone.
Have a great weekend. Bye bye.